Hey guys, I'm back and today I'm going to talk about Seattle's 2019 draft class and grade them on how they did. So Seattle's first overall selection in the 2019 draft was defensive lineman LJ Collier out of TCU. Unfortunately for Collier, he did not start any games for Seattle and only stood up for 11. He only recorded 3 total tackles with 152 snaps on defense. It's too early to determine how bad Collier will be moving forward. Defensive lineman Rasheed Green, he was their leading pass rusher this year with 4 sacks. That's not amazing, but he improved quite a bit from what he was. So it is possible to see that he can have a bigger role next year and get a lot more sacks. With how he performed and Seattle really needed a pass rusher, he didn't do that. So I don't know. I'd probably give him a C minus or something like that. He was able to play and fill in. He was there for the whole season and was able to play some snaps, but he didn't do anything. So C minus would probably be my grade on him. With their second overall selection, Seattle selected safety Marcus Blair out of Utah. Blair was known for his hard-hitting style, similar to what Cam Chancellor was. He was just a lot smaller body and all that. So Seattle was hoping to make him their starting free safety going into the season. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because of lack of experience. Seattle didn't have time to get him on the field. The free safety position was constantly rotating. They had, started out the season, Tigger Thompson, who was the most experienced coming into the season. He wasn't perfect. He gave up a lot of big plays in the first couple of games that shouldn't have happened. And then he was injured and taken out. Blair was able to fill in for him. He showed that he was not afraid to run up and hit receivers and get them down, which is very good. With more experience and taking proper angles on plays, I could see him becoming the starting strong safety for Seattle in the future. His total stats for 2019 were 32 total tackles, 1 pass deflection, and 2 forced fumbles, which is pretty respectable. He had 230 total defensive snaps this season, and he started 3 games. With lack of experience and not enough time to groom him for him to take over completely in 2019, I'm not going to judge him for not being able to take over for Earl Thomas and be as great as him. But he was a decent safety, and I would give him, I'd say a B grading for how he played. He wasn't perfect, but I saw a lot of positives in his game and play style to give him that grading. Moving on, their next pick, Seattle traded back into the second round to snag wide receiver DK Metcalf, one of their best players in their draft class and one of the best wide receivers in this draft, and the best rookie receiver this season for how well he did. He was one of Russell Wilson's favorite targets. He had 58 receptions for 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. He started all 16 games in the regular season and the 2 in the playoffs, and he played 927 snaps on the field. Wide receiver DK Metcalf tied or broke many Seattle Seahawks receiving records. He also broke an NFL record for most receiving yards in a playoff game with 160 and also a touchdown. For how well he played, I'm going to give DK Metcalf an A for how well he did this season. With their next pick, Seattle took linebacker Cody Barton in the 3rd round, a linebacker out of Utah. He didn't see a lot of playing time for most of the season due to really good linebackers starting with Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and Michael Kendricks. Late in the season with the injuries to Michael Kendricks, Cody Barton was able to start and see a lot of playing time. He also had a lot of snaps on special teams. He seemed a lot more athletic than Michael Kendricks. A lot of talent there. He can also play the middle linebacker position. He had several opportunities when he played to get to intercept passes. Compared to linebacker Michael Kendricks, he played a lot better defending the pass than Michael Kendricks did. Cody Barton's final stats for 2019 were 23 tackles and 1 pass deflection, and he had 151 defensive snaps, and he also played 317 snaps on special teams, where he was a big help to Seattle's kind of revitalizing their kick coverage compared to the 2018 season, where he's a very good young linebacker that will only improve as time goes on. I could see him playing the strong side linebacker spot next season while also backing up Bobby Wagner. So my final grade on him would probably be a B minus or a B. He was like, for what little time we saw him, he was pretty good. There was things here and there that he's like, it wasn't amazing, but he's learning on the go. Like what I got, giving him I'd say a B grade. So here is probably their worst draft pick from this last season, wide receiver Gary Jennings in the 4th round. The trouble with him was he was never available in the preseason. He was always injured, and then he had a few good catches when he came back. But there was I think it was in their San Diego game in the preseason. He had a few opportunities to make these big catches, and then he drew a penalty. Going to the regular season, there was too many good wide receivers above him. They had Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, David Moore, Jerron Brown. They brought in Josh Gordon, which once they brought him in, that's how he was cut right then, because they didn't have room for him and he wasn't needed. And then when Josh Gordon ended up getting suspended, then John Ursua came in and played a lot better than he did. Also in the preseason, he was one of the star rookie receivers. So that was kind of unfortunate for him. He was one of those in college known for a lot of quick catches over the middle. He played a lot of slot receiver, really good, had a lot of touchdowns, but he was unable to do anything with his time in Seattle. He couldn't find time to play on the field during the regular season, so I'm going to have to give him an F just for how bad it looks. Later in the 4th round, Seattle selected guard Phil Haynes out of Wake Forest. Haynes was unable to see any field time during the regular season and preseason for Seattle because of a sports hernia surgery that he had in the off-season. But when he was finally able to fill in the playoffs, he played pretty decently and showed a lot of promising stuff. Like he was still learning the offense and all that. He had to fill in place of injured Jamarco Jones in the Packers game and played the whole second half and was pretty decent. His run, he was pretty good in pass coverage and decent run blocking. So I'd give him a D+, just because he missed most of the season, but he played decently in that half to get a somewhat high grade. With their final pick in the 4th round, Seattle selected defensive back Ugo Amadi out of Oregon, a star special teams player for 2019. He was very good at getting down the field and stopping punts, getting them down inside the 5 and pinning the opposing offenses deep in their own territory. He was really good, and then later in the playoffs, he played a lot of nickel, where unfortunately he didn't do as well because he didn't have a lot of experience. He gave up some big plays that ended Seattle's playoff run at Green Bay. But if he was given more time, he could have been pretty decent. He was the most available player. He was pretty healthy. So I am going to give him I'd say a B minus, somewhat a B or something like that for how valuable he was. He wasn't a star on defense, but he was kind of dependable. He was healthy. He was there. Very good on special teams. He helped improve Seattle special teams from 2018 with Ugo Amadi, Cody Barton, Ben Burke-Kirven, Travis Homer. Those are all really good rookie special teams players for Seattle in 2019 that made their special teams very elite again. With Seattle's next pick in the 5th round, they took Washington star Ben Burke-Kirven, star linebacker who led the nation in tackles coming into the draft. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to see a lot of field time on defense. He did fill in for in the Carolina game when Bobby Wagner went out. He filled in for Cody Barton's strong side linebacker spot while Cody played the middle linebacker. I could see him in the future, like in a few years when KJ is gone, playing the Will linebacker spot. He was very good on special teams, and he forced a fumble in the week 1 against Cincinnati. The big thing about him was he was very dependable and healthy, and he was available all 16 games in the regular season. In the the preseason finale against Oakland. He was the starting linebacker for that game. You know, they're all rookies, and you're not playing a star player, of course. But he was a very good, played very well at the middle linebacker position. He had a bunch of sacks. So I can see him in the future with KJ out, possibly retiring in the next 2-3 years, of him sliding into that spot and learning that position. Since he didn't play defense, people are going to say he wasn't that amazing or vital to Seattle, but he was a very key player on special teams. So I'm going to give him a B. Moving into the 6th round, Seattle selected running back Travis Homer out of Miami. His play style is similar to Washington's former running back Myles Gaskin, where he was very little. He looks like a speedy running back that catches a lot of passes out of the field, which he can do and is very good at it. But he's also not afraid to make contact and run in between the tackles and up the middle and get that 1 or a couple yards. He wasn't an all-down back, but when running backs Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, and C.J. Prosise went down, when Seattle called on him, he was pretty decent. And besides that, very good special teams player, very good on kick coverage and all that. His final stats for the season were 114 rushing yards and 11 receptions for 56 yards. He also had 109 kick return yards. He was very decent, so I'm going to give him a B- for how well he played on special teams. He wasn't a star running back, so I'm giving him that lower-ish grade. And Seattle's final selection in the 6th round, defensive tackle DeMarcus Christmas. A very big disappointment. He wasn't healthy at all during his whole time in Seattle. Did not play in the preseason at all. Did not play regular season. Didn't play any games. Was put on the PUP list. I think right before training camp started, which is unfortunate. He wasn't known for being a great defensive tackle when he was selected. Everyone was kind of questioning the pick. It's still early to know what he'll do when we see him take the field. So, next year he could be their star defensive tackle. So, right now I'm giving him I'm going to say a D-, slightly above. I'm going to say actually an F because we don't know, but he was disappointed. He wasn't available. So, yeah, I'm giving him that low of a grade. And their final selection in the 7th round, wide receiver John Ursua out of Hawaii, did not see the field until their final game against San Francisco. Caught the vital 4th down catch to get the ball on the 1-yard line, 1st and goal on the 1, before all that horrible stuff happened. And then he got he played a little bit in the playoffs as well. He reminds me a lot of wide receiver Doug Baldwin, his play style. He was one of the stars in the preseason. I can see him getting a bigger role coming into next season with wide receivers Jaron Brown and David Moore both being free agents. I don't see Josh Gordon coming back after what happened, so I can see him easily being the 3rd or 4th wide receiver and getting more playing time. For as few plays he made, I'm going to give him a C+. So those are my grades for each of Seattle's 2019 draft picks. Let me know what you think Seattle's draft picks should have been graded as. Leave your thoughts below, if they should be higher or lower, all that. Be sure to leave ideas for movies that I could do in the future, like on free agents or biggest free agent signings or whatever sports related. I'm going to be working on a breakdown of the Seattle Dragons, the XFL team's first regular season game, my thoughts and all that, and the highlights. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. I'll see you around. Go Hawks.